Hello, everyone. It's Seth, probably better known as Saffron Olive, and I'm joined again today by Chaz. How's it going today, Chaz?
I'm doing well. Happy to be back. I'm really excited. I love these set reviews. I can't wait to do them every time a set releases, and we always talk about this even outside the podcast. It's just so much fun.
Yeah, set reviews are some of my favorite times of the YouTube year. So today, we're going to be talking about the top 5 red rares and mythics from Aether Revolt. And like last time, no specific order. These are just the 5 cards that Chaz and I like most from the red group. So not every single red card, but we hit all of our favorite rares and mythics. So I guess we'll just jump right into it with our red mythic. Well, one of 2 actually. Red got 2 mythics this go around. And this one is a super weird one. Indomitable Creativity. So Chaz, what do you make of this crazy card?
It is pretty crazy, so we're going to have to see if you can do anything with this card, Seth, because that's your wheelhouse. I look at this card and I can see the combo potential. The only thing is it seems like it could be just straight up outclassed by like Madcap Experiment if you're doing something like that. I know that has had its time in Modern with Platinum Imperion, but if you could do something similar with an artifact or something like that and drop a Darksteel Colossus. Interesting card. I'm not super excited about it, but at least it's interesting.
Yeah, so this actually sort of reminds me of Divergent Transformation, which we saw in the Commander release, and I think that Commander is the most likely home for this card. Sure, there are some combos, although unlike Madcap Experiment, it's actually pretty hard to control because it's artifact or creature. So if you want to hit a specific card, you would literally have to somehow have no other artifacts or creatures in your deck to hit the specific card that you wanted, which sounds like a really crazy deck building restriction. But I think that it's a fine card for Commander potentially because you can go to multiple targets. It's easy to make a bunch of mana. You can target it on yourself, and it's fine using it on your opponent's creatures. In Standard, it's super risky, especially depending on the matchup. Killing your opponent's Thalia's Lieutenant and having them get another random human, that's not really doing anything. Killing a Ishkana and having your opponent get an Emrakul is obviously a disaster. But in Commander, there's some pretty powerful things, and if you're killing a big 7-drop of some kind and letting your opponent get a spin of the wheel, it's very possible they hit a random mana rock or something, and you got a great deal in that exchange. So that's where I'm mostly excited about playing the card. And you can also use it for value on your own stuff. If you play a bunch of mana dorks and play a bunch of big things, you can't really control it like you can with Madcap Experiment, but you can just like spin the wheel of luck and hope that when you kill your Birds of Paradise and Arbor Elves and that stuff, that they turn into huge Terrestodons and creatures like that. So I think it can do some really fun things, but I think it's mostly Commander where it will get a chance to shine.
Yeah, absolutely. If you want a chaotic Commander game, Indomitable Creativity is for you because it's just going to get hectic.
Now we move on to the second red mythic. Red is one of the rare colors to get 2 mythics in this set because there's a lot of colorless mythics. And this one is pretty crazy and really scary to me. So Chaz, there's a running joke around the YouTube channel that I can't beat the green-red energy deck in Standard, the electrostatic pummeler deck. Like, no matter what series I play it against on stream with any deck, I lose to it. And this card makes me really scared because it seems really crazy in that deck, following up pummelers and servants of the conduit and bristling hydras into this thing seems pretty strong. What do you think?
Well, luckily you won't have to worry about this in the green-red energy list because I think they're really streamlined already. It's an interesting card. I do like it. It can get pretty crazy, but unfortunately you're just going to have to continue dealing with the green-red energy deck as it is currently, so you might continue to lose, and it won't be because of Lightning Runner. Other than that, it's just a lot of mana, right? I don't know if you're getting that much value straight up than what you're already doing in an aggressive energy list. But if you do manage to kind of squeeze one in there, it could really catch opponents off guard if you have a lot of energy, and it could just end the game on the spot. I don't know. I'm not super excited about Lightning Runner, but I can understand being concerned by it.
One of the interesting things about it is there's no limiting factor here. So theoretically, if you can make enough energy, you can attack as many times as you want to. As long as your lightning runner doesn't die during combat, you just attack, pay the energy, next extra attack phase, do it again. So I don't know if there could be some sort of combo there. Of course, the challenge is it's a 2/2 for 5 mana, which means it gets blocked by pretty much anything, which makes that a little bit sketchy. Double Strike helps a little bit, but it's still going to die to a Sylvan Advocate or Reflector Mage that blocks it. But I think it's a really unique and powerful card and a cool energy payoff. As far as actually being a staple in a tier 1 deck, though, you might be right. Those decks are already pretty streamlined, and there just might not be room for a 5-drop, even if it does have potential to deal a ton of damage in one turn. Alright, moving on to the red rares, we have maybe the most flavorful rare in the entire set. Kari, Skyship Raider, who comes along with her legendary pet monkey, Ragavan. So, Chaz, is this the aggressive red card everyone's been waiting for? Also, Menace.
Menace. It's our favorite keyword. Well, it makes Kari at least attack a little bit better with Menace. It does have first strike, so pump spells, again, like Built to Smash, Rush of Adrenaline, work really well with Kari. And who doesn't like a legendary pet monkey? I think that alone will at least entice players to try Kari out. I wasn't very enthusiastic at first. I love the flavor. I love the character. I love everything about it. The art is beautiful. I'm kind of torn. I really hope it does see play, but I could see the scenarios where it does not see play because it's just a really awkward slot. The 2-mana spot with Smuggler's Copter is just like so, I don't know. But I really just hope that Kari can see the light of day because it can crew Smuggler's Copter. Later on in the game, it can force extra damage in with Menace, with the legendary pet monkey. So hopefully it gets there.
I don't know if this card's playable. It's probably not playable, but it's got a monkey with goggles, which has to be like the best thing of all Aether Revolt. The monkey token with the goggles is so good. It's moving up my list of favorite tokens. It's not quite to the surf token, but it's getting near the surf token. The monkey with the goggles is so sweet. I also have no idea, and maybe you can help me with this. Why is it legendary? The token exiles itself at the end of the combat step anyway. Why do you need it to be legendary, or is that just a flavor thing?
I think it's just a flavor thing. I don't really know why it's legendary, but I'm okay with it. I'm cool with it because who doesn't want Ragavan to go take him out? Puts on his goggles, he goes in there, and then he just disappears. So I don't know. Maybe it's like the Pirates of the Caribbean where it's like the pet monkey that's kind of like undead. Who knows? I don't know. But yeah, that surf token is crazy. But yeah, Ragavan's definitely up there for favorite token.
My concern with Kari is she's only got 1 power, and usually when you're looking at aggressive red decks, they want their 1-drops to have 2 power, and their 2-drops to have 2 power, 3 power. Like, you're looking to be aggressive, and 1 mana doesn't exactly scream aggressive, although she does technically attack for 3. The problem is it's not all on her, so it's going to be fairly easy for someone to block Kari, kill Kari, take 2 damage from the monkey, and then the whole problem's dealt with. So why I like how the monkey thing works, I almost think she would just be better if she was a first strike menace 3/3 for 2 mana in red.
Why can't we have Ash Zealot?
Well, Kari is also an expert. She has an expertise, and her expertise is interesting. So Chaz, what do you think about this one? Is this an expertise that shows up in main decks, or is this pretty much sideboard fodder?
I think it's sideboard fodder like every other threatened ability that we've seen in standard or modern or what have you. But I think this has to be the best version, right? Like, this has to be better than any other threaten we've seen, at least in Standard, for a long time, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is probably the best threaten. Being able to threaten something and then cast a Harness Lightning or Incendiary Flow is pretty sweet. Even this just into your Kari Zev is pretty fine, so there's some cool stuff going on there. This one is the one I'm really excited for about Modern. So I really think that cheating things into play with expertise cards is a legitimate plan. So picture this scenario. Turn 1, you play a Birds of Paradise. Turn 2, you cast your Kari Zev's expertise, targeting your own Birds of Paradise, and you cast a Beck Call or a Breaking Entering, putting a hasty Emrakul or Grizzlebrand into play. There are some really sweet potential combos in Modern, and this is the cheapest one, which is why I think it has potential. The other ones are more powerful on their face, the other expertises, but this one, being 3 mana, I think is a really big deal and could lead to some Modern combo shenanigans.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you said, it's the cheapest. Even in that sense, you can play like Restored Balance or any one of those suspend cards, the 0 suspend cards. But yeah, it can open up some really interesting possibilities. And I just love how every expertise kind of plays off the fact that you can play all of the creatures that they're of their expertise, right? So you can play this Kari Zev, you could drop the expertise, you could drop your own Kari Zev in Standard, or you could do some wacky stuff in Modern. But yeah, this is really some awesome threaten effects with upside. So I'm kind of at least excited about this, because this can come in and hopefully you have as good luck as LSV to rip this off the top, take your opponent's Emrakul and end the game. But that's wishful thinking for many of us, I think.
Oh, well, our last red card for our Aether Revolt top 5 red cards is a dragon.
At least the flavor's great. I mean, it's an interesting like cat dragon. It has stripes all over it. It was honestly really hard to find a last card to talk about in red, but at the very least, it can be 2 mana for, again, pretty quickly. You have a card like Servo Expedition. You can follow this up with a Regent basically on turn 3, 4, 3, 2. So maybe the turn after. So not as good. But you could play like a Bomat Courier and then a Servo Expedition. Then you pretty much have it on turn 3, which is pretty good.
So what this card reminds me of is Molten Steel Dragon, which was another dragon that kind of had a fire-breathing ability, and you could pay it with 2 Phyrexian mana and 4 real mana. And I think that this is what Freejam Regent will be most of the time. Mostly 4 mana, tap a couple artifacts, get a 4/4. Whether or not that's good enough, I don't know. I mean, on one hand, in a deck that can do that, it's very similar to Thunderbreak Regent, although it doesn't have the protect itself ability, which is part of what made Thunderbreak Regent so good. But stats-wise, it's similar, and the double fire breathing means it's very possible that you can be hitting for 8 in the air the turn after you play this, so maybe this could be the top end in some aggressive artifacty list. You already see decks playing Bomat Courier, Scrap Heap Scrounger, a bunch of vehicles, so those decks could theoretically cast this pretty cheaply and have another huge flying threat. Whether or not that'll actually work out in practice, not 100% sure, but I think there's at least some amount of potential because people are already playing so many cheap artifacts.
Yeah, I agree with you. Maybe it doesn't pan out, but the plays are there, and the earlier you're able to drop the Regent, the better it is, obviously. And you're right, the double fire breathing really makes it a lot more interesting. And yes, it harkens back to previous dragons. So hopefully it gets there, but you know I'm gonna be a little skeptical here.
So Chaz, on the way out the door today, what is your favorite red card from Aether Revolt?
Well, I think between both of us, it's going to probably be Kari Zev's expertise and Kari Zev, so I'll just choose one. It'll be Kari Zev's expertise because, I mean, I love threaten effects. They have won me some games in the past, and this just seems like a better version of that, so can't wait to play it.
Well, you kind of stole my card. I'm excited for it for a very different reason. If you saw my article this past weekend, I've already been brewing with cheating Emrakul's into play in Modern with this card, so I like Kari Zev's expertise too. Although, if I can't pick the same card as you, I'm going with the monkey token. Goggle monkey token. Best red card in Aether Revolt. You heard it here first.
Way to go, Ragavan.
Oh, well,
I think that's a great place to end Red and Kaladesh.
oh, I think so too. Well, Chaz, thanks for taking the time to hang out. It was a fun one. We'll be back tomorrow, everyone, to talk about another color. So until then, we will talk to you soon.
Take care, everyone.